In the name of the goddess, halt! Who goes there? In that case, you can rest easy, Hunter. There is no source to be found here, only the glory of the Immaculates. Why, it's Silverglen, of course. Once the abode of miners, now the abode of the faithful. We have traded the search for silver for the pursuit of divinity. I'm sure this sounds strange in what a stranger's ears, but you must know that but a short while ago, a frightful sickness felled us by the dozen, until she who speaks for the goddess brought us a cure. She showed us how we may overcome the frailty and even the decrepitude of our mortal bodies. That is why we now live a life of devoutness and civility, so that we may become immaculate. But I suggest you talk to Father Loik if you want to learn more about the ways of the goddess. Be welcome, therefore, to Silverglen. Blessed be all Immaculates.
The Immaculates here seem to be a friendly
yet,
enough bunch.
Be wary.
Seem being
Be
the
vigilant.
operative word. Let's remain vigilant.
Psst. Over here, Hunter. It's me, Ahu. Source Hunter. You've made it into the hamlet of Silverglen, I see. Unnerving spot, don't you find? Leandra has fashioned herself a hero here, but the townsfolk don't seem to know the truth behind the conduit, though they call themselves Immaculates. They're thick as trout, if you ask me, and unnaturally obsessed with ancient teachings. I haven't seen Leandra here myself, but she must have put on quite a show of magical mastery to enthrall a crowd of shaggy miners, to have them hop on the bandwagon of a shadowy religion wholly alien to them. Haven't you heard them whisper of the blood? How their eyes shine when they discuss certain stellar stones? Star stones, of course, which drenched in blood become bloodstones and are used in healing rituals. Now, I can see how it could be a fantastic thing to nurse a dying human back to health, if all it takes is to sacrifice a toad. But I spy bloodlust in these people's eyes. A bloodlust that goes beyond the usual meaning of the word. They all act like they're following a benign goddess that will lead them to paradise. But I'll be a dappled Dalmatian if any of that is true. I've been shadowing the local priest, a man by the name of Loik. I have the feeling he knows more than most in Silverglen, for I've followed him in the night when he meets with cloaked strangers, and goblins even. Mangoth, Hyberheim. Of strange things I've heard him whisper. Yes, this priest has shady goings-on written all over that smug, holier-than-thou face of his. But we must start at the beginning, Source Hunter. The White Witch is still at large. If we want to get to the true heart of Leandra's doings, we must start with her sister. And she's far likelier to be in her cabin among the trees than here among Leandra's followers. The advantage of being a puss, my friend, is that one can pussyfoot. A white-haired wizard draws attention, but a cat can move about unnoticed and, indeed, unseen. Not that I'm not extra wary of these bloodsuckers, though. There's a conspicuous absence of pets in this eerie little town. The Immaculate's presence here is highly disconcerting. But we mustn't lose sight of our mission, Source Hunter. The White Witch resides somewhere in the wilds of the surrounding forest, and we must find her.
The degenerates here claim they have been cleansed, but I can still smell the stink of persisting putrescence wafting from their grimy flesh. As you know, I once carried the burden of disease upon emaciated shoulders. Perhaps I had better explain in greater detail. So I shall. Once upon a time, I was a king in a land of beauty to the east. A land of tigers and slender towers, of deserts and forests, of sun and all the world's wealth. I was a young king, handsome and all-powerful. Every nobleman would have killed his own brother if I promised to take his daughter's hand in marriage. But I refused their incessant implorations. I knew my life as a sovereign would be self-indulgent, but also a self-delusory one, if I weren't to marry for love. And so a handful of years went by. The king's throne I myself occupied, whereas the queen's throne remained empty but for the court's cats that would nap the afternoons away upon its velvet cushions. But then one day, a young woman visited my kingdom. She was a poetess and a storyteller. People flocked to her, listened to her every word as if receiving mantras from the divines. I invited her to my palace, and soon our days, our nights, our love and our lives intertwined. Hiraka. How I miss her still. Miss the brilliance of her mind that was both as sparkling and as unbreakable as the diamonds that adorned her body. Oh, and how I miss her body. 1,000 artists I could have commanded, show me beauty. But she would have effortlessly surpassed their every endeavor, and curving her lips into a smile, make them break their sculptures in tearful impotence. And yet, true happiness, that commodity more precious and even more fleeting than the dominion of kings, sang to us like the nightingale, only to depart come the dawn of our first year's unity. A malady overtook me, and I began to wither. It was an unparalleled horror. Scores of physicians flocked to my bedside. They traveled from realms across the seas, hoping to cure the mighty Jehan, undo the gloom that had befallen the land, and mere vultures that they were, to be paid handsomely for their efforts. But none of their potions took effect. Their salves seared, but did not soothe my fading flesh. Like a ghoul I looked, unburied yet risen from the grave. In futile anger I struck my mirror, but broke my brittle fingers only, not its ever-mocking surface. It went like this, Hunter. If a ghoul I had become, so a dark turn of thought convinced me. A ghoul's methods I should employ to escape the labyrinthian crypt of corporeal corruption. A necromancer I'd be. Yes, only from deep within the deliriums of death would I tunnel my way back into the gardens of life. I did unspeakable things in the dusky dungeons that twist like forgotten veins to long-deceased organs far beneath my castle's sunlit halls. Halls which held my throne and held the bed upon which Hiraka slept. her very touch blessing the satin she reposed upon. Still there came no relief. Perversions I created in scores, but they were mere undead all. Creatures so piteous that the thought of cheating death in their guise frightened me more than the swing of the scythe itself. Like mosquitoes in the night, panic and despair beset me until I turned to that darkest of all arts, demonology. It had to be. There was no other way. I could feel the life slipping out of me like love out of a betrayed spouse's heart. So I studied tomes so old the dust that fell from their centuries' unperused pages never knew the light of the stars that now shine. I drew forbidden symbols. I spoke unhallowed words, and from the smoke that rose like a dragon's last breath, a demon appeared to me and said, "Ask, O blighted king, and you shall have." "Just tell me," I cried. "Tell me what ails me." Hiraka. Never had I known a single word can cut deeper than the sharpest of daggers. With maddening glee, the demon told me she was one of his kin. A soul-swallowing horror that had been feeding on both my body and my spirit like a leech. An ancient being was she, that moved from king to king throughout the ages, filling their hearts with love, then draining them of life. After such revelations, does one truly desire to live on? Death seemed like a mother then, welcoming me with her all will be well embrace. Yet still I feared exceedingly her seemingly sweet caress, and the oblivion that would follow. Release me from her, demon, and give me back the strength of a sick, free existence. So went my desperate plea. It smiled, of course it did. Smiled bare 100 razors as its eyes came alight with infernal fire. 1,000 years I will give you, it whispered. But then your soul shall be mine to incarcerate in the depths of hellish nemesis. As for your throne, that I'll have now. What say you, O brittle king? Do you accept my terms? I think you know the answer to that question, Hunter. But I've said enough for now. These memories are painful to recollect, so let us turn to the rest of them later. By all means, if you're in the mood for such a dark tale. And undoubtedly I have answers. And so let the hunt
Well, well, well. So our very own demon hunter once dabbled in the so-called darkest of arts himself.
A man so utterly betrayed and dying will grasp at any straw. I can hardly blame him.
Neither can I. Clearly his great love was almost the very death of him. She broke his heart in more ways than one, and I too would go to any length to repair it.
Not even worth the rummaging. The seven grant abundance.
As good as a new penny!
Nadia whispering all kinds of accusations about Lawrence, but until she has
Eternal silence awaits you.
Hello and welcome to our shop. I am the son of the proprietor, Nadia. Please let us know how we can help you. You've probably noticed that my mother Nadia and I aren't from around here. No. We traveled rather far from our hometown to plant new roots here in Silverglen. My father, Ben, his death was somewhat mysterious, and we've traced the puzzle back to this little settlement. My mother will have plenty to say on that subject, if you're interested. Ma's a bit intense, to be sure. Set in her ways, but fiercely loyal to the family. Help her out and you've got a friend for life. Cross her, and you'll be better off skipping town. Not that that'll stop her from cursing your line for the next 1,000 cycles of bendies. My father was a good man, equal in character to his wife. His death nearly destroyed us, Ma and me. But now we're here, and we won't leave until we've held the proper parties accountable for their role in his death.
Farma Malbenita, a source hunter in Silverglen. I have traveled mile on top of mile to find help, and now help has, how you say, appeared from skinny vapors. My story? Well, this is no small tale. I think perhaps you will be more interested in the, how you say it, the short end of stick. I believe Lawrence, the leader of mining guild, tell my husband and many of other workers to mine deadly ore called tenebrium. Lawrence knew that this ore caused rot. Charming name, no? Yet ordered miners to continue. Many men, my Ben among them, become the sickness. And now they, how you say, kick down the bucket. But the sickness, it is not normal. It kills swift and terrible, not unlike Source. My son Sebi and I travel from our home to find truth. But this has proven not so easy. My sweet little Pomargo Visago, my darling Ben. We got along like, how you say, peas and ferrets. But here there is work, very well paid, in mines, clearing special rock from silver mine. So he leaves Sebi and I to come to Silverglen. We wait with hearts like stones for some months. And one day, we see familiar figure moving with strange steps on path toward cottage. We run to meet him and take him into our arms, but he collapses at our touch. We help him inside and set him to rest. But he was in terrible condition. Each hour he grew worse. Rot so fast we hardly recognize him after 2 short days. He slipped away from us, and we bury him with much grief. When his father died, Sebi became restless. Being of the age, he joined army and go straight to front line. Though I was nearly old woman, I joined army as healer to be near and look after my boy. There we saw special legionnaire using strange weapon. And this legionnaire soon come to my tent with the same disease that killed Ben. I discovered the tenebrium ore in this weapon. It was the ore that killed them both. I come to Silverglen to discover truth, and here I find Lawrence, that arrogant man, conducts his business without apologize to any. Exactly this. Please, Source Hunter, you must help me prove that Lawrence made his workers to mine deadly tenebrium. For your help, I offer blessing from my homeland. Sevi mal successos, mi planto seritzarbo kai tormenti via nepo sogiai branco. Translation is difficult, but it means something like, if you fail, I will plant cherry tree and haunt your grandbaby beneath branches. Good luck. I will do my best to give answer, Source Hunter. I have not found scrap of civilization among these apes. Sebi longs for heaping plate of my famous sire mule, but the local fairs support no fine food, unless squirrel meat inspire you. As for neighbors, well, those cultists would rather sacrifice supper to goddess than eat it. May Zalmoxis strike him down, the murderer! I have one goal in Silverglen, to make him share in the suffering he caused. I am certain he has gained from making those miners take the tenebrium. Now I have only to prove it. Ha! I have no interest in those Immaculates and their goddess. As Zalmoxis say in Book of Holy, I am jealous God. Why can I not read your mail if you have nothing to hide? Who is Aunt Sherry exactly? Aren't I enough for you? Nothing natural could cause such terrible disease at mere touch. If you ask me, I say dark magic, maybe even source at its root. That foul thing! A terrible disease. It transforms flesh of living into flesh of corpse, while infected person still lives. Arms grow black and heavy, legs grow black and heavy, hair rots from scalp. Cielo helpo min! Oh, what memories I have. Do a salutoin, Hunter. What can I do for you?
Maybe I have a job to do.
Blood we may redeem. Welcome be, O seeking souls, to this holy house of Immaculates. I am Loic, enlightened one among Immaculates, spokesman for the holy conduit, as she is spokesman for the goddess herself. Hers is the blood. Then it shall be my pleasure to answer them. We are the chosen ones of the goddess. The benedictions of the blood render our bodies and spirits unblemished, for such is her mercy, that we may all become part of the sacred soul. And you too, Seeker, could become one such part. You find yourself in the goddess's temple, therefore it follows she wants you to take the true path. So here, have this hallowed tome, read it, absorb the wisdom within, then find the second part and do with it the same. If an Immaculate you want to be, a test of knowledge shall be your first step towards enlightenment. The conduit, yes. She, the most exalted of all, second only to the goddess. It was she who brought us first her divine words, then her divine will, a will made real in blood. Truly, though, she is quite beyond your concern, O wandering soul. She stands so very high above your humble station. The goddess is the light and life of all. Corrupt is the world that generations of men and beasts have left behind. But immaculate it may be once more, cleansed in the blood of the unworthy. The few, the proud, the enlightened, theirs will be her kingdom. When red has run until no red is left, a paradise we will have shapen, and the goddess will dwell among us. Do you hold it to be true, O Seeker, that you are ready to be tested? A most sacred trio of queries shall I put before thee, but even if thou falterest but a single time, unworthy will thou be deemed of the goddess's love. Your unpreparedness disappoints me. But an Immaculate is not born, he is made. Made you may yet be, through study, devotion, and diligence.
Diligently will I read the words of the goddess.
And behold, said the goddess, the blood is the life. Free us out
Blessed be the goddess, and blessed be the conduit.
And impure. With its blood, better thyself, and in time thou too wilt become an Immaculate. The goddess is the one. Then it shall be my pleasure to answer them. Do you hold it to be? Blessed be your willing spirit. We commence. Premise the first. In honor of the goddess, that which was stellar must become sanguine. Correct?
Correct.
Agreed. That is correct.
Premise the second. The blood of the greater should be used in service of the lesser so that balance may be achieved. Correct?
Blessed be the goddess, and blessed
Diligently
be
will I
the
read
conduit.
the words of the goddess.
Correct.
Agreed. That is correct.
Premise the third. Only those who have partaken in the spilling of blood and thereby created the stone that lives, the stone soaked with blood, may be called an Immaculate.
Incorrect.
Yes, that is incorrect.
Your knowledge has been weighed and you have been found wanting. Begone, aspirant, and do not return until true wisdom has dawned. Do you hold it? Blessed be your premise the first.
Incorrect.
Yes, that is
Premise the second. The blood of the greater should be used in...
Correct.
agreed.
Premise the third. Oh,
Incorrect.
Yes, that is it.
your knowledge has been weighed and you have been... Do you hold it to be... You're unprepared. Do you hold... Blessed be your premise the...
Correct.
Agreed.
Premise the second.
Correct.
Agreed.
Your knowledge has been weighed and you...